T1 were never supposed to win Masters Bangkok. In fact, they weren't supposed to be close. Their job was to get grouped and watch as Sentinels and G2 and Vitality, all the super teams, took the spotlight. But they didn't agree with that. So what T1 did was go on one of the greatest underdog runs in the history of any game, and probably the best in Valorant history. In this video, I'm going to break down what they did to beat a super team as a team that was supposed to be the first one out. They really need to stop with the pre-match graphics. But G2 were undefeated on Pearl before this, and now took their first defeat in the most pivotal match in the history of G2 Valorant. So let's break down why that happened. First of all, gotta talk about the comps. T1 runs a double duelist comp on most maps with a Yoru, and I honestly think it's a great way to take the meta. When you have a normal double duelist comp, you're forced to either not play a Sentinel, Smokes, or Initiator, or you use a solo Initiator to play all the other roles. Solo Initiator, especially on maps where double duelist is very prevalent, such as Split, Sky, can be very hard. However, what Yoru is able to do, especially in a Teo and Silva meta, is he can provide that firepower of a duelist, being able to teleport onto site, while also being able to supplement that Initiator role with flashes and clones. So I honestly think that this comp change, if this didn't happen, if T1 were playing, mirror comps to G2, they would have been 3-0'd or at least 3-1'd. But because of this change that they've made, and I think they were playing in the Pacific, it has dominated on the world stage. And to be honest, there isn't really an easy counter for it. You can't just whip out your, notebook and pen and go, well, they're running Yoru, let's run this. You can't do that. The only thing you can really hope for is a Yoru nerf, because as of now, this is a great composition. First, let's look at the bonus round for G2. Their goal here is to find this outlaw, as two of their players have half shield and they need to make sure that they don't die on their bonus. So they go ahead and drone, find Yoru, he's forced to TP away. Now, what's interesting here is the mental aspect of this game. You see, G2 were up 3-1 and then lost Split. Now, the biggest part of that is there was a bit of a whiff. I'm not even sure if I would call it that, but there was a 2v1 by the IGL Valent. He got one of the kills. He could have secured the game if he got the next. He didn't. Now, there will be a lot of theories on how that was able to kind of go with his mental, and I don't want to speculate too much, but I do think it is definitely a factor, and you'll see here that G2 is definitely still nervous. Keep in mind all that they've gone through, right? They went it through Ascension. Now, all of these players, literally all of them, could have gotten picked up of the guard core individually, but they're friends. They wanted to stay together. They did that, winning Ascension in 2023, last year coming oh so close to winning Champions, and this year was supposed to be their year. They were the super team, the contender that only maybe Vitality could knock off. However, again, T1 was having none of it. But you're probably wondering, it's a 3v4 and there's an outlaw, how in the world would T1 be able to win this round? And the answer is actually very interesting. You see, G2 don't have a Teo on this map. They run a chamber instead, but with Double Sentinel, that means that you might not have the utility you need on the spike. For example, Teo Mollies. Now, T1 realized this and just go, okay, well, it's an eco round. Sylvan's on 9 HP. Let's just stick the bomb. And you know what happens? The bomb gets stuck. And as you can see here, Valen, just a little bit of a whiff. And you do wonder if that was some of the mental stuff from the Split game where he could have closed it out. After that round, G2 make a massive investment into this one, using not only almost all of their credits, but also Jogma's Yoru ult. But you know what else is massive? Subscribing to Lionzblade. I'm trying to hit 15K by the end of the year, and if you subscribe, it would make a massive difference. So thank you. What makes a massive difference in this round was supposed to be Jogma's Yoru ult, right? It's the win con for G2, and as you can see, he's about to pop it. He's going to find out all of these players over here in art. First, though, he wants to go ahead and trip this with his clone, which is some nice tech if you ever want to fake someone out in ranked. People like to use the Vice Wall for it, but I honestly think that it's very good at tripping up KJs as well. You just might not see it much because KJ hasn't been as prevalent in the meta because of Teo. However, now it's a very odd situation. You've lost your entry duelist on the side of G2, and now you don't know really where to go. I am tired, by the way, of people forgetting that Astral Wall takes a couple seconds to deploy. It very much upsets me. Leaf was not shooting well this game, and that's its own issue. But these mental errors are stuff that G2 are not supposed to do. If there is one thing G2 is known for, it's clean Valorant. And here, you just die because you're forgetting what Vicewall does. It really upsets me and is a completely avoidable mistake. After investing all of that, johnqt is left in a 1v3 where he just has no idea where to look, and I can't even really blame him. However, G2 didn't just roll over and die in this game. As you know, they're a super team. They were built to win trophies, a team of some of the best players in the world, and they didn't just roll over and die. In fact, this series was probably one of the best Masters I've ever watched, and I would put it at number 2 behind Lock-In. It's the only Masters event that I personally think could possibly compete with how Lock-In felt. The back and forth, as you can see up there, 11-13, 15-13. This map ended 16-14. It was truly one of the best maps I think I've ever watched with my own 2 eyes. However, G2, to make it that close, need to start winning some rounds, and they'll start it off here with a Thrifty. The interesting thing for me is that they don't have to use any high-impact ultimates or any at all. They just don't have those available after investing 2 the last round. However, they're able to still win with some gunplay, and by exploiting mid, Stacks peeking this probably secured the round for G2, as you now have it up 5v3, and you can secure a gun here. I really don't like when people are put in these type of situations that aren't Chamber or other agents that have a TP ability to go away. And when they overcommit, it is very, very punishable, as you can see right there. Izu, by the way, Izu, whatever you want to call him, he has been fragging, and while those whiffs don't show it, he was a very impactful player. I know Meteor got the MVP, but if it wasn't Meteor, it probably would have been him, and it should have. He absolutely deserved it. Despite not being able to clutch this one out, this is a pretty unwinnable situation. 2v1 with an operator, and they're both split up here, although that whiff doesn't help. Neon is somehow still broken, and the fact that the agent isn't in the game still is honestly pretty dumb. Valorant is a tactical shooter. You are not supposed to have movement abilities such as Neon in a tactical shooter. If you want that, go play Apex, go play COD. Neon is not built for Valorant. Neon is not an agent that should be in Valorant. I see arguments for taking out ISO and KO and everyone else, and still the strongest argument to this day is Neon. There is absolutely no reason why one ult should win the round every single time. I counted every single Neon ult except for one. One T won the round on these games. In this series, that is beyond stupid. There is no reason that an ult should be that powerful, or an agent's ability should counteract the entire game. Anyways, that's just like my little TED talk. Let's go ahead and look at the other half here, because G2 able to clean some things up. Let's look at what happens when they're put on the defensive. To win their first ever international trophy, G2 have to win this pistol round. However, it's going to be very tough because there is a great play coming out from T1. As you can see, they're trying to crunch the B players. Thankfully for G2 though, they have 3 to 4 people here. And as you can see here, Trent spots this out very quickly, relays it back to the IGL, and they know exactly what to do. Now, the only issue that could come of this is if Neon or someone else is somehow able to get in sight. However, they take that very quickly, and now that issue has been eliminated. Vicewall does what Vicewall does, and honestly, this is why I think that Vice will still be overpowered, even with a slight Teo nerf that's coming. The patch notes were leaked as I'm recording this, and Teo got a slight nerf, but mostly focusing on KJ util. I still think Yoru Vice Teo Breach will be meta. G2 lose their bonus, and this is a perfect example of how to retake a site like a professional player. 4v4. So what they do is they send Leaf on the flank. This keeps 1 to 2 players distracted back here, giving him a pure 1v1 where no one really has the advantage. As if they were on site and it's a pure 4v4 with people holding crossfires like this one, you have a much lower chance of success. But with the crossfire, you can break that up very easily because this isn't a perfect crossfire. In fact, there aren't very many perfect crossfires in Valorant. As you can see, Valen gets the kill, and once Leaf does this, all you need to worry about is this player back here, who now has to worry about Leaf. That is a great example of how G2 can retake sites like this. And again, this is the reason G2 was supposed to win. They were the super team. They were the chosen ones. But we need to talk about someone, and that someone's name is Leaf. Leaf was the best player by far in regional play in Americas, which is, as you know, probably the strongest region in the world. He dominated everyone, but on the international stage, he's been a bit up and down. Don't get me wrong, he's been better more than he's been worse, but on the stage like this, he crumbled. And when they first lost against EDG. Now you can take this one of two ways. Either he's such a core part of the game plan that when he's off, the entire team loses, or that he needs the team around him to support him. Either way, it's not good to have someone that's inconsistent. Think about Cryo. His op is so consistent, and that's what causes him to be able to still be pretty much a Jet one trick, right? There are not a lot of orgs that would have kept a mid Jet player around, and I'm not calling him mid, I'm just saying a middle of the pack Jet player around unless they had a skill like that, which elevates him to an above average Jet player. Now, G2 are going to win this round, so it wasn't the greatest thing to show, oh, Leaf's opping was inconsistent, but take a peek at the KD and you'll see. Speaking of KD, T1 did not have a single player go positive across this match, and yet they still were able to win. Now, these games were all very close, and in games as close as these, there are a lot of moments that you can look at that say, okay, this won this team the game. This was the reason they lost. But the reason I would like to point to is this clutch here by T1. Keep in mind, this game went to OT several times over, meaning any misplayed round could have been it. However, Sylvian here getting 2 and then stacks with an amazing clutch, I think, secured this game for T1. Otherwise, I do not believe they would have won here. As you can see, he's just barely able to chip away on Trent, leaving Valen without the time to defuse. Now, this is the moment that could have changed history, and I think that a lot of what-if videos will be made on this very moment. Look at the buy. G2 have everything they could ever want and more, while T1 are huddling together with scraps. Now, they're going to hit this bomb site with about 30 seconds left, and it's a 5v5 retake, until it isn't. Jogamo gets a kill, 5v4. Your odds of winning this round just shot up to about 60%. Then, Jogamo gets another. This, I believe, is around 75%. And the caster said something that I think is very apt here. They saw the trophy in their eyes. And what that means is, to put it simply, they got blinded by the lights. They wanted this trophy, and they thought, oh, we've already won. 5v3, we can't lose this. So suddenly, they forget about the possibility of a flank. Suddenly, Trent's not able to kill Stacks with a far superior weapon. Suddenly, Jonah P's in a 1v2, and this round that was once won is now anything but. 11-12, T1 is the professor, unable to take them to school with this clutch. The game plan for hitting B is pretty much the same with both teams as we head towards OT. Use your Yoru clone to bait out the utility, whether that be KJ Molly's or a Vice Wall, and then try and get on site and live long enough to plant. The issue for G2 here is that they weren't able to do that. In fact, Jogamo was the only one that seemed interested in shooting his gun. Now, he made a very good effort here. In fact, able to go all the way to A site, make it a 1v2 here, but ultimately, he got pinged by a Sova dart and that ended it. I truly believed right here that he could have won this game if he didn't get pinged out by that dart, but I guess we'll never know. G2 call a timeout before this round that could end their tournament lives here, and they come out with a masterclass. Have Leaf by a glass cannon operator and hold mid, make sure there's no shenanigans going on there, and then just do the good old 2-1-2, where you have 2 here, 1 here on top of Leaf, and then 2. So really the 2-2-1. However, what happens here is a bit of luck, to be honest. They are almost able to break the clone before the Vice Wall triggers. Sadly, they aren't, but the first 2 kills by Trent, as you can see in a replay, are literally just smoke spam. I mean, it was a good dart, don't get me wrong, but smoke spam seems a bit more fluky than, actually winning gunfights. Now, this is not at all to say that G2 could not win gunfights against T1. In fact, if I had to put G2 up against T1 in an aim labs competition, I'm probably trending G2. But that is to say, maybe that weren't, the most ethical kills, if you will. Anyways, 3v5 and G2 will clutch out the round. But let's do a deep dive into this next round. G2's game plan is pretty simple. Make sure that there isn't an op online, which there is. If there is, find it, and then hit the opposite site. The issue is that this doesn't really go as planned. As you can see here, there's going to be a fake over on B where they use drone and clear this corner, which is where Yoru has been a lot of the time, even without operator. But doing all this takes so much time that when they come back, they only have a minute left. And you're probably thinking, well, a minute is a ton of time. But you forget, they haven't fully scaled in yet. G2 is a team that takes a good bit of time to scale up when they're doing it like this. So when the op does get revealed, they have 50 seconds left, and the only control on the entire map they have is art. They feel like they have no choice but to try and crunch on A, even with everyone there and the operator. Now, I don't want to say this is a misplay, but I would have liked to see maybe a brief reconsideration of option, because B, you don't want to hit A. You want to go B, right? There's an op here, and I think if you asked Valen again now after this moment, he would probably say that, but the pressure can just sometimes be too much. And again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he thinks it was the better option to hit here. But personally, I think you need to go B. You have the time. You just have to force your way in there. But really quickly, I want to talk about the stress of this situation. You are in a grand finals. For G2, this is a team that ascended together. All of these people individually could have made it, right? Trent, Valen, and johnqt all got offers to join Tier 1 teams when they were in Tier 2. But they wanted to stay together. They wanted to stay with their brothers. And I honestly respect that. The pressure of being on this stage right here with a chance to win your first trophy that could have implications on if you get selected for partnership, which, again, that's a whole nother subject, but that genuinely could. This game, if they had won it, could have had something to do with them getting partnered next year. The pressure here is at an all-time high, and I want to respect literally everyone here that's still shooting their gun. Like that clutch right there, you cannot imagine how much pressure that was on him. I think this round here will sting for a long time for G2. I talked about smoke kills earlier and how they seem a bit random and how you can get tilted by them. You know, if you get shot full through a smoke, you probably are a little more upset than if you just lost a gunfight, although that could vary from person to person. But what happens with G2 here is pretty simple. They have a good game plan. Crunch the A site while there's only 2 people on it through art. This has been their plan for a ton of these games. The only issue is that a couple of these players on T1 aren't too keen on letting this happen, and in fact, they're able to stop it. Jogamo dies here, and as soon as he goes down, there's the feeling of, wait, we need to figure out what to do. But Stax doesn't give them time to do that. johnqt here, by the way, I truly believe, like in my heart, he would have clutched this round if he didn't do what he's about to do right here, which is pull his knife out, because he didn't expect Buzz to be over here that quickly. I truly believe with the Steel Garden, he has a good chance of winning that round. And maybe this would have been a better round to talk about Leaf. He held this for a ton of time. Ended up being about, I think, 40 seconds here before T1 finally decided to go ahead and hit this bomb site. The issue is you can hold it for as long as you want. It's not going to give you the kill unless you shoot accurately. And here, well, he really doesn't. Reveals that he has the glass cannon op, gives up the first blood, and that's the beginning of the end for G2 here. T1, this scrappy underdog team, ranked 8th in the power rankings. This team that was supposed to be grouped, now becoming Masters champions. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to support my channel, you can do a couple of things. You can subscribe, but you could also go give a Twitch Prime over here on Twitch. My link will be in the description. As always, if you liked the video, let me know with a comment. Check out one of these 2 videos, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.